So we're going to continue with the lesson series, and we're talking about foundations for building the play of the guitar, right? So you have to build a good base. I've already talked about sort of how to hold the guitar. I wanted to next talk about I'm going to call it your fret hand, right? In my case, it's my left hand. I play a right-handed guitar where my right hand is the picking hand. If you are a lefty and you are playing a left-handed guitar, you would then be looking at me in mirror image, right? So your right hand would be your fret hand. So for our purposes today, I'm just going to call it your fret hand, because it isn't different whether you're right-handed or left-handed. The principles work the same. So we're going to talk about what goes into this. I talked a little bit about positioning already, right? How you want the guitar sort of at this level, and you want this hand to be nice and pulled back the wrist. You do not want your elbow up here. Some people kind of, as they're looking for leverage, they tend to push their elbow up. You don't want to do that in the long run. It's not going to help. So you want that sort of elbow tucked in, but don't put pressure to tuck it in, right? You want to gain a comfortable motion, if you will, where your wrist is sort of perpendicular to the floor. Unless you're holding it a little higher, that's fine. Fingers rounded, thumb behind the second finger. Now, you want to try and get sound, right? The first caveat: if you are a person who likes to wear your nails a little longer, you're either going to have to compromise or you're going to have to choose another instrument. The guitar is not an instrument where you can really pull off even a small nail, because you do not want to play on the pad of your finger. You want to play on the tip. So if you have even a slight nail there, it's going to impede your ability to play on your fingertip. So cut them. Or maybe the piano, because that's just what has to happen, right? You want the motion of your finger to be rounded. You don't want this motion, right? Or this look. It's going to become progressively more difficult as you play the lower sounding strings, right? They're thicker. So it's going to take a little more strength in your fingers to press them in order to get the sound, right? So that's why I typically have people start on the higher strings. You have to get your fingers used to what you want them to do. So start them on the easier strings. When I say higher, I mean higher in sound. If you're looking, right, vertically, from a directional perspective, this string is lower, obviously, than this string. But in music, we talk by tone, right? So even though it seems lower directionally, musically it's higher, okay? So this string here is the first string. So the beginnings, you would want to start on the first string, and you would want to start with your first and second finger, right? They're your strongest fingers, right? Think about it in day-to-day life. You know, if you're pressing something, more than likely you're using your pointer finger for it. It will become progressively more difficult when you get to your ring finger and your pinky to try and build up strength in it. They tend to be the weakest link, okay? So if you can get sound out of your first and second finger, start with them. It's not exciting. unfortunately, it is necessary to start to build up the strength, right? Like literally, that is the basic foundation. It's not a fancy exercise. It's not, flashy solos, but that's not our goal yet, right? What's our goal? To make a foundation to maybe do that later. So, 1 and 2. And if you can get a move into another string, great. No, that wasn't a show off. It was just a habit, sorry. And if you can get 1, 2, 3, do that too. If I stopped there, most people would never use the 4th finger. It's my belief that if most people could get around playing without the 4th finger, they would. And there are people who do, and they do it effectively. My goal with these videos is to get you playing where you have options and where you have the greatest amount of tools. That would include your 4th finger. So you would want to go up to the 4th finger. And again, see this shape? This shape, it's not going to be like this in the beginning, right? Your finger's going to do all sorts of funky things, right? While you're training it to become the shape and the form that you want it to be. It's a process. And unfortunately, the process requires some pretty mundane things. Right? But that 1, 2, 3, 4 is the absolute basic level, right? And once you get your fingers doing it a little bit, then we can add in things. We could add in certain musical elements, right? Because this isn't necessarily all that musical yet. But you can't get to musical if you don't have the foundation, right? So what do you need? You need to be holding the instrument properly, and you need your hands to start learning a form so that then you can give them a language, right? So that's what the foundations are all about. So that's your left hand, the fingers that are going to be creating the notes or the chords that are eventually going to make music. So that's our second foundation series. I bet you might be able to guess what the next one might be about. It would be your picking hand, and we'll talk about that. Stay safe. Till next time.